You never really know what's going on in someone else's head, and maybe some of our favorite actors and actresses aren't what they seem to be on screen. Today, we're talking about Ryan Grantham, the well-known Canadian actor, writer, model, and director. You might recognize him from his role in the movie The Diary of the Wimpy Kid, or from the US TV show Riverdale, where he played a very key character, Jeffrey Augustine, in one episode in 2019. Grantham is best known for his role as Jake in the Canadian TV series The Saddle Club, and as young Tom in the TV series The New Adventures of Madeline. In addition to his acting work, Grantham has also written and directed several short films, including Lock Up and The Ballad of Immortal Joe. Grantham has been nominated for several awards for his work as an actor, including a Young Artist Award in 2008 for his role in The Saddle Club. Grantham got his start in the entertainment industry at a very young age and has continued to keep his career growing. However, there's a dark side to his Hollywood star that came to the light, halting his career immediately. But let's start at the beginning. Grantham was born in 1998. Through all my research, there seemed to be some discrepancies on the exact date of his birth, but he was in fact born at some point during 1998 in the city of Squamish, British Columbia, Canada. Grantham had a passion for acting at a very young age, landing him his first role at just the age of 9. He was cast as the role of Billy in the TV series The Secret Life of the Nutcracker, that turned out to be a really big hit. Grantham attended your regular elementary school in his younger years and then went on to Simon Fraser University for his higher studies. Grantham grew up with his sister and his mother, Barbara Waite. His father was never really in the picture. He had split either right before or right after he was born. But his mother picked up the slack and did everything in power to give her children a happy and stable life. Barbara was a sweet and devoted mother. She loved both of her children very much and fully supported her son and his acting endeavors. She even became his manager. Grantham went on to become a total success with the help of his mother by his side. He started landing more roles in commercials, televisions, and movies. He loved acting and carried a real passion for the art world. On the outside, everything seemed to be great. Ryan Grantham seemed to be thriving, but deep down, he was disturbed and thus began his downward spiral. Grantham started consuming mass amounts of physically violent images and videos on the dark web. He started heavily smoking. He also started having overwhelming suicidal and homicidal urges that he couldn't seem to control. He was doing his best to keep everything at bay until March 31st, 2020. Grantham's mother, Barbara Waite, was peacefully playing the piano at her townhome in Squamish, British Columbia. That's when her 21-year-old son came into the room and aimed a .20 at the back of her head. Grantham closed his eyes and pulled the trigger, ending his mother's life. After he committed the crime, he didn't call the cops or run away. He actually filmed a video on his GoPro and confessed to what he had done. He showed his mother's lifeless body to the camera, and he said in the video, "I shot her in the back of the head. In the moments after, she would have known it was me." He then spoke to the camera about his next dark plan to kill the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He also revealed in the video that he was considering going through with committing a mass shooting at his school, Simon Fraser University. After that, it was reported that Grantham went out and purchased and beer, ingested massive amounts of the two. While he smoked and drank, he watched Netflix in bed for 2.5 hours and tried making Molotov cocktails. The next day, Grantham loaded up his car with all sorts of weapons. He loaded it with 3 firearms, Molotov cocktails, ammunition, and a map that had directions to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's home. He then placed a sheet over his mom's body, hung a rosary on the piano, and lit candles around her body. Then he set out on the road with a plan to murder the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. However, Grantham got cold feet and didn't follow through with his plans, or rather he came to his senses. He drove the family car about 200 kilometers east to the town of Hope before turning around and heading to the Vancouver Police Department. At the police department, he turned himself in for what he had done to his mother and told them about his attempted plan to kill the Prime Minister. He was promptly arrested on the spot. But what made this seemingly happy celebrity commit these crimes? And what made him turn himself in? Grantham rationalized that he had to kill his mother so that she would not have to deal with the terrible fallout of the crimes he had planned to commit. He was planning on murdering the Prime Minister and committing a mass shooting, and he didn't want his mother to have to deal with any of the repercussions or have to see her son in such a negative light. Grantham told the police that his mother was an excellent parent and he had no reason to fear her. He had no hate or resentment towards her, and that he was trying to save her from the horrible things he was going to do. It seems that he had been planning and plotting the killing of the Prime Minister for months before starting to take action. Grantham's diary was later discovered with multiple entries of his diabolical plan in great detail. They found an entry in the diary on the day of the murder that read, "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry, Lisa. I hate myself." There's a lot of media of me out there, film and TV, hundreds of hours of me that can be viewed and dissected. No one will understand. And it turns out that Grantham had actually practiced killing his mother several times before going through this act. He had recorded footage on his GoPro of himself rehearsing approaching her from behind with a gun as she sat playing a piano. Grantham's defense attorney, Chris Johnson, confirmed that Grantham had serious mental issues. Attorney Johnson is quoted saying, "The psychiatrist agreed that at the time of this horrendous event, he was suffering from a major depressive disorder and a cannabis use disorder, among other things. He underwent psychiatric evaluations before the trial took place, where it was reported that Grantham expressed self-hatred, guilt for the crime he had committed, guilt for his plans to commit additional heinous crimes, as well as expressing that he had desires of ending his own life. I cannot explain or justify my actions. I have no excuse," Grantham said on the final day of his sentencing hearing in June. "It hurts me to think about how badly I've wasted my life. In the face of something so horrible, saying sorry seems so pointless, but from every fiber of my being, I am sorry." And although Grantham was in a fragile mental state at the time that the crime was committed, it does not absolve him of his criminal responsibility for the crime. The mother's lifeless body was later discovered on April 1st by Grantham's sister, Lisa Grantham. Lisa was present at the trial and testified that her brother is a dangerous person and said that she feared his release from prison. "It breaks my heart. She struggled so hard, only to be murdered by her own son," she told the court. "She was vulnerable, and Ryan gave her no chance to defend herself. It pains me to know that he was a danger to her life." Finally, on September 23rd, 2022, the trial commenced and Grantham pleaded guilty to the charges of second-degree murder, which carries an automatic sentence of life in prison in the Canadian court system. The prosecutors of this case called for a 17 to 18-year waiting period before Grantham could apply for parole. Grantham's lawyer had asked for a period of 12 years. The judge decided to meet somewhere in the middle of these requests and officially declare him eligible for parole after 14 years during sentencing proceedings at the Supreme Court of British Columbia. Grantham's lawyers spoke out after the trial was over and said Grantham was not surprised by the outcome of the trial. He is quoted saying, "I think he anticipated what the judge gave him as a sentence," Johnson said. "I think he's pretty apprehensive about the whole thing. He's a fairly tiny person, and to go to the prison system, I'm sure it's a daunting and scary thought for him." As previously mentioned, Grantham did have a number of documented mental challenges, but he is trying to overcome them the best way that he can. Grantham has been in prison since April 1st, 2020. There have been reports that since entering prison, Grantham has committed himself to trying to rehabilitate himself. It is horrible what Grantham has done to his mother, but it is a miracle that Grantham didn't go through with all of his actions and plans. Preceding Justice Kathleen Kerr called it a saving grace that Grantham decided to not carry out this killing spree. I'm glad in the end that Grantham tried to do the right thing and turn himself in. I'm glad he's behind bars, but I do hope he gets the proper treatment that he needs for his mental health. And maybe if he had gotten proper treatment for his mental health before, then we could have avoided this terrible tragedy. What do you guys at home think about this case? Please let me know in the comments down below. I'm Mac, and again, thank you guys so much for watching Killer Bites, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.